One of the biggest mistakes that I see so many chess players make is that they try to attack their opponent. But that really is not the best way to play chess. And in this video, I'm going to explain why, and I'm going to show you what you need to do instead if you want to see more improvement in your chess, and if you finally want to stop wasting time and actually start winning more games. So, why do we not play aggressively? Because in chess, it is really impossible to force a win. You can only force yourself to lose by making a mistake, but you cannot force yourself to win. If your opponent plays well, there is no win. Then it's going to be a draw. And this is what we see with grandmasters. They play draws all the time because most of them don't make mistakes anymore, so the game is equal. Yet so many people try to force a win. So no, we cannot force a win. Instead of trying to force a win, what we have to do is we have to make sure that we don't blunder so that we don't lose, and we are waiting for the opponent to make a mistake. And if they do make a mistake, that is the moment that we will have an opportunity to play for a win. Not by attacking, but by being patient, strategic, and waiting for them to make a mistake. So how do we do this? I'm going to teach you exactly that in this video. First of all, for the opening, I recommend to keep things as simple as you can. Like literally, I put one of my pawns in the center. I protect it with some other pawns so that my central pawn is secure, and then I look to develop my pieces and to castle. That is really my strategy, like my opening strategy, you could say. Then when I am in the middle game, I'm going to teach you another strategy that you can use to find very good moves during the middle game. My opponent just captured my central pawn, and this is actually a very important moment we need to talk about. I want you to pay way more attention to pawn moves and to pawn exchanges, because every pawn move changes the position forever. And most people, they move way too many pawns, or they just don't think about what their pawn move is going to achieve, what it is going to create. So we have a very important moment. We have to choose, do we take this with the red pawn or do we take this with the blue pawn? Well, how can you know this? I will teach you a very simple rule. Whenever a pawn moves or gets exchanged, something opens up. And especially when a pawn gets exchanged, then both a file is going to open and a diagonal is going to open. What do I mean with this? The moment that white captures here, they open up this file and they open up this diagonal. It basically all has to do with where do the file and diagonal cross with the pawn. That's here. This is the intersection. So this helps me determine that they are opening this diagonal and they are opening this file. Okay, but it's the same for us. If we are going to recapture red or blue, we are also going to open a diagonal and open a file. If we take with blue, what is our intersection point? It's this one. It's actually where the pawn disappeared. Obviously here, it's this point. Well, we open up this diagonal. Is that good for them or good for us? I think it's good for them because we won't be able to use it and they might put a queen and a bishop on it. We also open up a file. Well, this file is open on both sides, so we don't really benefit from that. And they can actually put a rook there on the very next move. If we take with the other pawn, this is the intersection point. So it's this diagonal and it's this file that opens up. Is that good for us? Well, our bishop finally has a good diagonal again, and maybe we can put a rook there and put pressure on that pawn, maybe on their king. So this is really the trade that we want to go for. So keep this in mind whenever you are trading. This is very important. I'm not really sure why they play queen d3. Maybe they want to castle long. I think that could be the case, but we are just going to ignore it and develop our bishop, and we are going to castle. That is really our strategy. Okay, and they play rook to c1, trying to use the file, but this time we still have a pawn there, which is good. So this is our opening strategy. Very simple. We have castled, and as you have seen, I also try to minimize my pawn moves so that we have a very clean pawn structure with no weaknesses. Okay. What are we going to do now? If we are not going to attack our opponent, and how are we going to win the game? Well, we are going to use a two-part strategy. First, we always need to prevent ourselves from making a mistake. And a lot of people tell me that this strategy doesn't work for them, But then when I look at their game, I see them give away free pieces all the time. And yes, if you do give away free pieces, this doesn't work. On the other hand, most of my subscribers have benefited a lot from this strategy because they play it safe, they play it solid, and they don't blunder. So this strategy only works if you don't blunder. How can you prevent yourself from blundering? Well, we need to always focus on what the opponent is doing first. They put the rook here. What is their plan? Why are they doing this? Well, they attack this, but there's nothing there. There's nothing there. So we don't need to worry, which means we can continue with our own plan. And for our own plan, we basically want to use a thinking system, a framework, a list of steps that we go through to find good moves. And what you need to remember is CCTO. Check, capture, threat, optimize. We go through those steps in that specific order to find our next move. Do we have any checks? No. Do we have any captures? No. Do we have any threats? Yes, we have one single threat, I think. A threat is when you, for example, move the queen to b6 and the pawn is unprotected. So we are threatening to win a pawn. That's a threat. Is this a good threat? Well, they fix it in a single move. So, no. Another threat could be attacking a high value piece with a low value piece. We cannot really do that. So we don't have any threats, which means we need to optimize. Optimize just means we want to play a move like rook e8 that improves our position a little bit, improve the position because the rook is on a better file. And I was 100% sure that this was not a blunder. And that is what we are going to do over and over again. Look at their move, not a problem. Do the CCTO. There is still no CCT, so we need to optimize. I would like to use this bishop, but it's blocked by the knight. So maybe now we opened up a square for the knight so that we can start moving this knight around. And this is going to help us to improve that bishop. And my opponent here is really doing nothing. They are just moving pawns around the king, but every time you move a pawn close to your king, you are just creating a new weakness. Okay, well, this rook has been a little bit improved, but it's still quite bad. It's stuck behind the bishop, so bishop to d6. Another optimization move, as you can see. The two bishops have improved. Well, this knight, is it really happy here? No. Another optimization move. And this also shows that you can go through this strategy a little bit more quickly because we don't need to look at everything from the start again. Like basically, if nothing major changed, like my opponent just pushes one pawn, I just look, does this pawn create a new check, capture, or threat? Because I already checked all of the other options. So if there is a new option, it has to do with this pawn. If not, then I'll just improve. So just like this, I think you could say that nothing has changed, but a lot of things have changed. Our knights are better placed, our bishops are better placed, and our opponent hasn't really made any progress. So we will just keep doing this. We will keep improving, not attacking, improving, optimizing, until our opponent makes a mistake. How can we further optimize? Well, the bishop wants to be in the game. Is this an optimization move? I don't think so. Is it better placed here? No, it just blocks the rook, so that's not really a good move. So I wouldn't play that. Same with like bishop d7. I mean, if you play this, no worries, you won't lose the game, but it's not really a good optimization move. I'm still somewhat looking at this threat. It has been a threat a while, but I always feel like it doesn't do much. It's also a bit of an optimization move, so that's why I'm considering it. So Queen b6 is on my radar, but I don't really like the move. I think we have one more optimization move, which is knight e4. And this is usually the next step in optimizing, which is that we want to start moving pieces forward into their position if we can do that in a safe and well-supported manner, not in a reckless, I am sacrificing pieces to win manner. So this is an improvement because the knight looks at more squares into their position. That's good. And if they take us, well, that would be a huge mistake because they will get a pawn fork and that loses them the game. So basically we can improve this knight. This is just one example of improving one of our pieces. And it seems to me like white is really struggling. Like they don't really know what to do. Like they just moved the rook again. Okay. So still, well, actually I have to be careful. I was going to say our CCT remains unchanged. that would be false. We actually have a bunch of new things to consider. We have the capture of knight for bishop, which we do win a bishop for a knight, so we could consider that, but after that, there is nothing really here. We have the possible captures on g3, which is what most hyper-aggressive chess players would play. They would go all in here, sacrifice a piece, but if you don't see a clear win within 3 moves, there is actually no clear win most of the time. So our checks, captures, and threads don't work. We need to optimize again. And to optimize, we need to keep looking at our pieces, find better squares for them. Force yourself to improve your pieces, as we have done so far. And we don't touch the pawns. Remember this. Like, sometimes people don't play over aggressive, but this is the moment they'll say, okay, let me just start pushing pawns up the board. I have no clue anymore what to do. I'll do this, I'll do this. They just start pushing pawns. No, no, no. We optimize. We don't even touch the pawns unless if we have to. So optimize. Is this knight happy? Yes. This knight, well, it's okay. It doesn't really have any other future, I think, than being here, but it's okay. It has been improved from where it was before. So it's okay. This bishop, well, I think it's actually a well-placed piece. It's in the center. It's behind the pawn. It has this X cross that it's making. It has a lot of opportunities for the future. The rook as well. Like, my most pathetic pieces really are my queen and my bishop. Like, these really need to improve. These really need to be optimized. So the queen, I mean, I've talked about it before. Maybe queen b6, but I still don't really like the move. Because it's just such a simple fix. Our bishop has been horrible this entire time, and it has never had any squares. But now it has a square, and this is what will happen. Your optimization is going to basically create more and more opportunities for other pieces to be optimized. And maybe we can go here. And then, while now there might be a trick, now there might be a tactic, or opponent could make a mistake, and there could be a discovery, a revealed attack. This would work because we would win a pawn and they cannot capture the knight because they would lose the queen, and they cannot capture the bishop because they would also lose the queen. So is this hyper-aggressive chess? No. This is strategic optimization chess. All right. Okay, and they respond with bishop to g5, which is clearly a problem because this attacks our queen. So it's time to think. It's time to pause and it's time to think. So we have a problem. The queen is under attack. Okay. Can we solve this by capturing their bishop while they capture our bishop? Not really great. And then probably we exchange this as well. And yeah, we just exchanged. There is no progress from that point. So no. We can also fix it by moving a pawn. But I've said this before. If you can fix a problem without moving a pawn, that is the superior way to fix it. So we won't be pushing a pawn unless if I see that f6 is the only solution that we have. All right. I could also just move my queen. And is this an optimization move? Well, a little bit, but at least it keeps all of our tactical opportunities alive in this position. So I think it's a good choice. We're going to move the queen. We're going to move the queen. Okay, and they play a move that I really have been expecting all this time. They play g4, and g4 is great because it attacks our bishop. At the same time, they are also making the mistake of just moving all of the pawns near their king, which is usually going to result into trouble. So we need to move the bishop. Well, I think this is a logical square. We stay on this diagonal, and our rooks also stay connected. So I think this game is a really good example of how I play chess, because I haven't done anything super spectacular, but yet we are clearly better than the opponent, because, yeah, White's pieces are very badly coordinated. Like, look at what's going on with all of this. That's not great. So we need to keep doing this CCTO strategy. Checks, captures, threats, optimize. Well, we have a check we could play, but it's not really working because that knight is there. And there's not much else going on. So I think we will need to keep optimizing, really. Optimizing in this case could be something minor, like maybe attempting to double the rooks. That could be an optimization, or still that queen b6 move that we have looked at a couple of times. That move doesn't really do anything. They basically just protect their weakness. So I think it's okay. So let me just double up these rooks, okay? Now they capture, so we need to recapture. Important moment. Do we want to capture this with a pawn or do we want to capture this with a rook? Well, if we do capture with the rook, we have to be careful because we are possibly trapping our rook. I'm not saying that this is horrible for us, but you have to be careful if you put rooks that much, that far up the board. That's usually a problem. And now they play knight e5, which is confusing. I think this is just a bad trade for them. So this is time to calculate. I think we have come to the moment where the opponent is starting to make mistakes. Because they put a knight here, which is literally attacked 5 times and defended once. So that's not going to be great. On the other hand, they might be winning this pawn. So we have to take that into account. So I think we should start trading. The best thing to do is to start with an equal trade. All right. And now we have to recapture here. So we have the option of recapturing with the bishop and we have the option of recapturing with the rook. If we capture with the bishop and they take this pawn, they do take back a pawn, but we removed one of their most important defenders, the knight. So maybe we will have discoveries here, like bishop to h2, and then we could actually win that bishop. So it's a bit of a trap. If we take with the rook, I think this bishop f4 move looks annoying. So I'm going to take this and see, maybe they fall for the trap. They don't, because taking this would have lost them the game. I'll just show it again, in case that was too quick. If they take this, we have a check, supported by the queen. They have to move the king, and then we would have won that bishop. Probably they will take here, we will take there, they will take here, but we have 2 rooks versus a rook and a bishop. So we are starting to get there, but we have to be careful because if we don't do anything, we might still lose this pawn. So this is really, I think, the most important moment. It seems to me like we are winning this, but we have to watch out, because if I don't do anything, if I play a very slow move, they will just pick up that pawn again, and we don't really gain anything from that. So what can we really do? Well, it always comes down to CCTO, I think. We need to make a move that's either a check, we don't have any, a capture, well, we have one capture, which gives away the bishop, or a threat, so threaten to win something. And I think the only thing that we could threaten to do is probably f5, because it protects the pawn, and if they don't do anything, then we have multiple attackers and we could open up their position. It does move a pawn, so whenever I'm thinking about moving a pawn, I have to be careful. Blunder prevention first. If we do move this pawn, there is a potential check from them. Is that a problem? No. It's not a problem. We can move the king, we can block with a rook, with a bishop, so it's okay. So I think f5 could be a move. Or h5. It's a similar threat. If we play h5, we are also threatening to win a pawn, but they can take it. The pawn structure is bad for them, but we would need to prove that we could win back the pawn. So let's do f5. So this is an example of a move that I would usually be very careful with before I make it, but I feel like in this particular moment, it was really the only thing that we had available to us. And I think that we have a tactic here. If we just look for checks and captures, we have we actually have a check and capture, which is this move. And then now we have 2 rooks lined up with a queen, which I think that means we can snatch this pawn and also get a discovery on the queen. The only thing you need to be careful with is that the queen can start giving checks, but they don't do anything. But we have to be careful, because the moment we move the f-pawn, we really multiplied the opportunities for disaster here as well. So let's just be safe, be solid, snatch the pawn, go back. And this is how I recommend you play chess. As you can see, did I attack my opponent? Did I try to force a win? No. I'm just playing a controlled game, a slow game, trying to see if they will make mistakes, and eventually I ended up winning a pawn. I actually just only now realized that by looking for their moves, that there was actually a pawn hanging here as well, but we captured that back. So it's basically an exchange, but I don't really like it, so I think it's time to fix this. We are now in what I would call an endgame. This is an endgame. We are up a pawn and a lot of pieces have been removed. Technically, I only really say endgame once the queens have been traded, but it's starting to feel like an endgame. And in the endgame, I switch my rule and I do start moving pawns. Because moving pawns is actually important in the endgame. Like if you don't move pawns, you won't make progress. And one of the simplest endgame plans that you could go for is what I call the PPP strategy, push past pawn. Past pawn is a pawn that can promote, so I'm trying to see if I can create a passed pawn. But what is my opponent doing here? Rook to d5 just looks so wrong. What is this rook doing? And if it gets attacked by the queen, then it's pinned to the king and they have to defend it. I think this is a major blunder from them. I really think that this move that they just played is a major blunder. Do we not just win that? I think we pin it, they defend it, but we attack it. And well, we could attack it this way or we could attack it this way. It doesn't even really matter. I think we can just attack it. I just think my opponent blundered the piece. Yeah, and this is what happens. We were going to win this anyways because we had a passed pawn that we could push to promotion, but now it's getting easier. I would always take that with the queen because this ignites a queen trade on top of a trade, but I actually missed something. There was a little bit of counterplay here that I didn't calculate. Interesting. So check. This is why blunder prevention is important. I don't think I messed up, but this was a tricky move by them. Because after all of the exchanges, they take this and we cannot capture back. But we are still winning. We are definitely still winning because we have, we have two rooks versus a rook and a bishop. That's the first thing. And we also have more pawns. But blunder prevention important. I'm starting to get a bit sloppy with it, as you saw, but basically I don't think there was anything else that we needed to worry about. Well, if we go here, that would be horrible. This is a checkmate. So no. We are going here. They can have another pawn or this pawn. But this is basically just going to be a massive trade of pawns, just a massive trade of pawns. And we even have a ladder checkmate setup. Like this would be a ladder checkmate. And I think we can just, be careful, be careful. I was going to drop the rook here. Don't start playing fast like I am. Play it smart. Put everything on the light squares. If they have like a dark squared bishop, what's this move? If they have like a dark squared bishop, put everything on the light squares. You will be okay. I think the opponent is just freaking out and randomly sacrificing things, but we basically, we basically have an unstoppable checkmate at this point. But yeah, you can always blunder, as you saw, almost dropped the full rook there. So if they have only one color bishop, avoid that color as much as you can with your pieces. All right, yeah, and this is just a back rank mate. So please try out this strategy in your next game and drop a comment to let me know how it went.